I'm excited to use this thing. I've been using it for a few minutes this morning on yet another thing. I'm trying to build up a pretty hefty battery rack for our battery room. We've been wanting to upgrade our solar batteries to like a suitcase batteries and like server rack batteries, but we just don't have the funding for that right now. So instead we got another bank of batteries that we're going to add to our bank that's similar. Right now I've got one main bank sitting on the ground, and then I've got a small set of batteries resting on top of them, and they're not too heavy, so it's okay. But I'd like to get a shelf rack system in there so they can be stored on there and not have to worry about the batteries compressing on each other. I got a message from a company called Simder, and they build these bunch of different welding components and stuff. And this particular unit, they reached out to see if I'd be willing to check it out, test it out, and give a little shout out about it. So they sent me this one. It's a 10-in-1 welder cutter. It's pretty compact and pretty condensed for the size. I mean, essentially this thing will do, it'll do gasless or gas, so flux cord or gas, MIG. It'll do stick weld, it'll do TIG welding. There's also a spool gun attachment. And then it also, of all things, has a plasma cutter attachment too. So it will do all those functions. And I've been on the market for a while now for just a decent, relatively mid-size, mid-range wire feed, because a lot of the welding I have to do up here is just fine with my big stick welder. I have a harder time with thin sheet metal stuff with a stick. It's not hard for me to just burn through, and I do great with a wire feed. Plus I used to do some TIG welding, and not anything like high end, but I enjoyed it. It was fun. So I just enjoyed doing it and learning it and messing with it. So I'm excited to use this thing. I've been using it for a few minutes this morning, and I've got one side of my shelves built. I've got my other pieces cut, and I'm gonna start welding up my other side. So right now I'm running this thing on 240 voltage, and it does have an adapter cord, and it automatically switches over to 110 if that's the only input you have. So it's kind of got a lot of automated systems. Now this is not an industrial machine, definitely not. It's not built to be 10-hour days all day long out in the field kind of stuff. It's built for home use, for DIY stuff. Knowing that out the gate, there's a certain level of exception that you give to a machine, and it's in a good price point. I think it's around $1,000, and that comes with all these accessories. Comes with the TIG torch, the spool gun, comes with a set of gloves and a helmet. It comes with the foot pedal for the TIG torch, just a whole bunch of stuff. Comes with a whole couple of packs of consumables, new tips for the plasma cutter, lots of tips for the MIG, for the spool gun, tips for the TIG torch, all kinds of stuff, new collets and everything. So it comes with a lot of that stuff already out the gate. For just a home job, it's pretty all right so far. I did kind of have to relearn how to use a flux cord wire, because I don't have a bottle and regulator for the gas yet. I just got it loaded up for a flux core wire. I remember why I don't like that. It doesn't leave as clean of a weld, in my opinion, but it does a good job. It still is a plenty good weld and everything that way. So it only took me a minute or two to kind of dial in just for this size. This is some pretty thin wall material. You can see here it's not very thick. It's plenty strong, but not terribly thick, so if you're not careful it'll be easy to blow out. So I just had to kind of get it dialed in. It does have kind of a nice little feature where it's got a lot of automated features in the settings. As you adjust the amperage, the voltage changes, and so does the wire speed automatically. And so then what I found is I got it to the voltage that I liked, the amperage I liked, and then it's got a plus or minus on the voltage setting separate, so you can keep your wire speed up, and then it gives you plus or minus 5 on the settings. so you can get it kind of dialed in. I'm running in 220 mode and it's running out fine. I've got 035 wire on there that's flux core. It's got a cool couple of features where you've got an induction setting where you can ramp up the induction timing so that it, instead of just deadheading for voltage, it'll ramp up and give you a smoother transition. Then it has two different trigger modes, 2T or 4T, which is basically press and hold. When you release, it stops, or a click on and click off kind of mode. It's kind of neat. Bunch of different settings, bunch of different functions. I haven't gotten into any of it other than just the flux cord stuff right now. I've got to get a bottle and a regulator picked up for the gas, and then I'll hook up the TIG and start trying that out. I don't know if I'm gonna mess with the plasma too much. I do already have a plasma, and I've used that quite a bunch, and it works great. Maybe sometime I'll use that. I don't know if I will or not, but I got all the fittings and all the stuff here for it, so it's there anyway. I'll probably try it out just to see how it does, see what it's like, and compare it to my standalone plasma. I am gonna be using the heck out of it on this here project with the grinder. There's a lot of thin sheet metal that I gotta cut off of there, clean up. I've got new sheet pieces to put back on. So it's gonna be a great machine for that. It's small enough, compact enough, that it's easy to get around. The small wire feed, you know, I can dial it down real nice so that I can burn in small and easy on that sheet metal and not burn through it. So I'm excited to use it on that. Let's just get back into it. We'll get this thing finished up quick. Now, one thing I gotta say, it's got a good duty cycle. I was real impressed with that. I think full max amperage and everything, it's rated for like 60% duty cycle, which is still pretty hefty for a DIY, use at home kind of machine. But if you just bring it down, I think it's at 80% capacity, so 80% of max, it's rated for 100% duty cycle. And that's pretty darn good, because that means you pull the trigger and you don't let go. The fact that you can run full, long, big beads like that at 100% duty cycle is pretty good on a home use machine. So I was on the fence because I felt like I needed a decent small to mid-sized wire feed so that I could handle some of the smaller stuff that the stick welder is just a little bit too beefy for me to handle well. I also found myself going, oh, but maybe I should just get a TIG because then I can do all the small stuff too. The fact that this is in around the $1,000 range, it's a pretty decent unit. I'm going to use the heck out of it on that grinder. I'm going to use the heck out of it for a while. And we'll see how well it lasts. It's decently built. You can definitely tell it's not built for industrial purpose. But I think it's probably going to last me quite a while. I'm going to include a link for it. If anybody's interested in them, check it out. Especially if you're wanting to learn how to do multiple processes, I think it's a good option because you could easily spend $1,500 to $2,000 a piece on each type of welder. And a tool like this gets you an opportunity to get your hands on doing TIG welding, stick welding, wire feed, aluminum, spool gun, all these different options and different processes that you can run on this machine. And even though you're not doing it in a commercial setting, you can definitely do them and get a feel for them and really have a good time with it. Well, Done. Well, the welder did fine. The welder operator, I don't know about. Brush those down, get them cleaned up a bit. And do that real quick. Brush these down. See if I got some primer and paint and get this thing installed. Okay, I just wanted to show you real quick a little bit about this welder that came. Now, the cart did not come with it. This is, I think it's a Lincoln. I don't know. It's whatever welder cart I could grab from the local farm and ranch store that had a welding aisle. This is the little tote bag that comes with it. And there's a pair of gloves. There's also an auto darken helmet. I've got it in the box in the storage unit because mine's still okay until something burns up with mine or the shields get too bad to see through and stuff like that. But this is all the extra cables and hookups and things that come with it. There is already a replacement liner for the MIG, which is pretty nice. I mean, the fact that you've got an extra on hand. That's the hose for the gas when I get the regulator and the tank. That is the plasma tip and wand extension, whatever, all that. There is the TIG tip, foot pedal for the TIG, and the stick clamp for that. So those are the other functions that I don't have plugged in right now. But then they also send you all kinds of, so that's TIG collets and tips and cones and all kinds of different deals in that for the TIG. This is 2 new heads and receiver units and tips of various sizes. I think this machine's capable of 030, 035. I don't think it'll do 040. It'll definitely do 030 and 035. And this is the other wheels, the drive wheels for the wire feed to change out from 030 and 035 and whatever. Smooth wheels and grip wheels. And then that's all the consumables for the plasma. New tips, cups, a couple of guards and shields. I mean, it kind of really comes rolling complete. And then this is the hose, the air hose adapter to go to my air line for when running the plasma. So it's pretty slick. Look, it's not going to replace your Miller or your Lincoln in your commercial shop, but that's not the intention. That's not what it's designed for. It's designed for a guy like me that might turn it on once a month, might have it on for a solid week straight, but then not turn it on again for another 4 months. Okay, I got these shelves done. I put some paint on them. I didn't have any primer, but I did put some paint on them anyway. And now, don't get after me for my quality of my welds, but I wanted to show them up close. An inexperienced welder that just kind of does stuff. I haven't run a wire feed for a couple of years now, and I've certainly not run a flux cord one. And the last one I ran was a Miller 221, so it's been a while ago for me. And some of these welds are pretty rough, but I don't believe that was a fault of the welder. The welder actually seems to be able to maintain a pretty steady arc. It actually seems to work really nicely. I hate flux core. It just always makes such a messy looking weld when I use it. If I use a gas shield solid wire, my welds look better. But it's also been a long time since I've done some wire feed. So it took me a minute and getting used to the machine. So, but hey, look, this is some shelves. They're heavy duty as all heck. I had these tubes that I bought from the salvage yard last year because I saw them and I'm like, these are amazing tube sizes, dimensions to do lots of things with, stuffing things. And this particular project here is one of those stuffing things. It's lightweight, but plenty heavy duty for what it is. I didn't want to have to worry about cross braces or anything like that. The thing you didn't see is I did put a couple of little thin strips, like basically like a weather strip underneath here. Just a strip across here and a strip across here on each end of this. Because one thing I've learned is that with furniture or anything like that, if you have a full flat, it's never going to sit flat on the floor. It's always going to rock and wobble a little bit. Typically you would put like a threaded base, but I didn't want such a focused pressure point on this hardwood flooring. So this is like about 1/8 inch thick foam strip that's like 3/4 of an inch wide, and it goes the full 2 inches. So it should really compress down over time, but it will basically take up that minuscule amount of difference and give me 4 points of contact, so it'll set down nicely and be stable. It'll find its own equilibrium. Each one will compress a certain amount to balance out whatever pressure's on them. But ultimately, the welder worked great. I'm excited to get using it on the grinder out there. It's going to work out really good. We'll get working on that and really put this welder to use. Those are ready. They're ready to come up here into the battery room probably tomorrow. Probably running out of daylight today. And they're going to go in this mess. I did make sure it's low enough that it's below my inverters. And I'm just going to place it in here for now. I don't have any need for anything on the top shelf. In fact, the batteries that are on the bottom are going to stay right where they're at. And then the shelf will fit over top of those batteries. The new batteries are going to go on the second shelf. And then these little 4-pack of the smaller set of batteries is going to go on the the second shelf up, the middle one. And then the top one will be empty for now. Try to double our power bank all of a sudden. I got a cool video coming out with those. That's going to be awesome.